Good morning. Yes, and welcome back to another day of our workshop. This is our sixth annual Young Chef Culinary Workshop here at the CAM, the University of the Bahamas. And our first session, we have a wonderful young lady, Chef Celeste Smith. She is the owner of Celeste Sweet Artistry. And she is going to come to present her presentation on today, presenting on sweet things. Yes.
Hello, good morning, everyone. How are you today? Thank you for coming and joining this segment as we talk about something very sweet today. I'm going to make it 30 minutes. It's a lot of information, so I hope everyone has a notepad, pencil, pen, whatever you have, and just pay attention to the few slides as well as I try and prep as well. So we're going to have my assistant, Ryan, to help out. So let's start with the slide. So what we're learning today is about the fundamentals in baking and pastry. Why did I choose this? I know a lot of people are saying, seriously, why she's doing something so simple? However, when you start off, you always have to start from the beginning and work your way up. So what I decided to do is start with the fundamentals of baking and pastry in relation to eclairs. How many of you guys heard about eclairs before? If I get a show of hands. Well, first, let me start off by saying who has a passion for pastry in the room? Perfect. That's great. So, who heard about Karem? Okay, good. So Karem, I consider him the first celebrity chef. Why? Is because he was the founder or the foundation of French cuisine. He was born in Paris in June 8, 1784 to a poor family, and he worked in various restaurants and high-end hotels from the age of 10. A lot of people noticed his work was extremely incredible, especially his architect. He was known for famous desserts called a croquembouche. How many of you heard of that before? Croquembouche as well as Charlie Roux, and what we're talking about now, eclairs. He was the founder of Mother Sauces. Can anyone list name at least one Mother Sauce for me? Correct. So he wasn't all about sweets. He also had a savory side to him as well. So he professionalized the French cuisine in the early 1800s. And what he did was he provided a systematic, I would say, brigade system so that other fellow pastry chefs and chefs such as Escoffier and Paul Bocuse could follow. And that is when he started the brigade system, is where you have the executive chef, sous chef, and further down to the patisserie. So, all about eclairs. Let's dissect the ingredients of eclairs. Pastry is all about science. You have to know your measurements. You have to know ratio. You have to know why each ingredient works with another ingredient. And I think that's important because once you want to elevate into something and create more elaborate pastries, if you don't know the fundamentals, it's no way that you can advance. So, the milk and water provides moisture as well as tenderness and flavor. The butter adds little moisture and flavor as well. Salt and sugar are for flavor, and some chew can be made without it because you have some savory chew, and you can also use olive oil as well. But that's a whole different science, adding olive oil inside a chew paste. So the flour is the heart of the chew. Flour is essential for structure and gluten. So when it comes to flour, me personally, I love to use high gluten flour, and it's obviously basically bread flour, and I love to use it because of the high volume of proteins inside of the actual flour itself. Some other chefs, they decide to use low protein flour, which is basically pastry flour, all purpose, so you have a more softer chew. But for eclairs, I prefer to use bread flour because it works well to keep in the structure and the shape of the actual eclair. So eggs. We rely on eggs for protein because we capture the evaporation process via water and steam. And if you notice with eggs, once you cook it, it coagulates and it performs basically a structure which makes the eclairs much more stable. And it has a nice, beautiful, elongated shape. So, the tips for eclairs. Cold eggs added to a cooler paste results in solid butter and firm starch gel network. So when you're making the chew, you want to make sure that you have the actual chew paste at room temperature or cold. You don't want it to be hot because what's going to happen is that once you spread the chew to form a shape, it's going to be extremely runny and it's not going to hold the shape. So pastry is all about patience as well. And you're obviously going to add the eggs one at a time. The reason for that is simply because if you add all of the eggs inside of the chew paste, it's just going to form like a horrible clump mass, which you don't want. So the next slide. So let's move forward to the recipe. And I'll come back to piping and all of that. The next slide. Next one. Go back to the recipe and method. Okay. So for the recipe, for the choux, we have water, whole milk, butter, salt, and granulated sugar. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add our milk and water inside a pot. And then we're going to add the butter. So do we have any questions so far of what I just said? So we're just going to wait until this mixture comes to a boil. And you can add sugar. So like I said, I use bread flour. Other people, they use all-purpose or pastry flour. So we're just going to wait until this mixture comes to a little bit of a boil. And whilst the mixture is coming to a boil, we're going to move to the slide where it says the importance of piping. Back. So the importance of piping. Me personally, I love to use a fluted tip. Some people use a round tip. And the reason why I use a fluted tip is because it, to me, holds the best and perfect shape. So the choux is steam powered, which means they use a process of evaporation. So what do I mean by evaporation? What makes a choux rise in the process of evaporation with baking? Steam, correct. So basically, you want to make sure that the oven is set at the right temperature. Me personally, I use a 400-degree oven. Some people may use it less than that, and some people may open the oven. So even though I say set the timer for 400 degrees, every single oven is completely different. So just be mindful of that. A lot of people, professional chefs, we use a deck oven because it's much more faster than using a conventional oven, and you really don't have to use the process of steam because it bakes within about 5 to 10 minutes. So now we have the pot with the milk and the butter and the sugar. So what we have is sifted bread flour, and we're going to immediately add all inside the pot and whisk it. You don't want to add it piece because you don't want any lumps to form. So we're just whisking that together. And what we're doing is we're basically incorporating the mixture to form like a nice film at the bottom of the pan. For people who really are skeptical about when it's done or when it's not, just read a temperature thermometer. It has to be between 145 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So as you can see, the butter is forming that gelatized mass. And you can see the film at the bottom of the pan. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add this mixture inside our mixing bowl. No, we still... So once you see the nice mass forming, we're going to add this mixture into the mixing bowl. All that in. And then you can see the bottom of the pan has a nice film at the bottom. That shows you when the choux is ready. If not, like I said, the temperature between 145 to 160 Fahrenheit. So we're going to turn this on. And we're turning this on at a low speed. And automatically you can see the steam releasing out. We don't want to add all the eggs at once because obviously eggs and heat, it'll be a curdled mess. So we just want to take out a little bit of the steam. Ryan, open this to me. And also if I add all the eggs in at once, the ratio is going to be imbalanced, and you're going to see the choux at the bottom and the eggs at the top. So I'm just releasing a little bit of that steam out. So is everyone with me so far? All right, cool. All right, so now we can add the eggs one by one. Like I said, pastry is patience. You want to add all at once. And I don't know if the camera could capture what's happening. You can see it start to come together. Last one. And you can just eyeball it. Obviously, I'm not going to use the rest of this because I see it forming together really nicely, how it should be. Just scrape down. Scrape it down just a little bit. All right. All right, now this mix is ready. And what you're looking for is you want to make sure that it's not too runny. You can you can add it to the actual chew itself, but I think the best flavor is the actual filling.
Would you say that making the chew is similar to making churro dough?
Sorry, I can.
Making the chew is similar to making churro dough.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same batter. It's just a different way process how you make it. So that's a good question. It's the same batter, same as profiterole rolls as well. It's the same. So now I'm gonna show you how to pipe the eclairs. So like I said, I love to use the fluted edges simply because it gives it a nice, sexy shape too, rather than the round one. And then you can use this shoe to make different shapes. You can make a round one, and this one is the shape for Paris breast. Or you can make different shapes. So now with this, you want to do two things. You can either, one, bake these off right away. Some people sprinkle ice and sugar on it to have a nice caramelization on top. To me, personally, it isn't necessary because I'm dipping it inside pâte glacée, and I'll explain what that is later. But personally, I don't think it's necessary. Or you can pipe a straight line all the way across the width of the pan, and you can set it inside the freezer. It lasts roughly about a month. And you can take off the baked shard block, and you can just cut it whichever size that you want and just bake it off. Once it sets at room temperature, you can bake it off in the oven. So I love the versatility of the eclairs because you can make savory or you can make sweet. And the beautiful thing about it is the only way you can mess up, you can't mess it up, only if it's baked the wrong way. But other than that, it's a great item to use with. A lot of pastry chefs use it because it's the base for all the other ingredients, such as profiterole rolls, like she said, the churro batter, and many, many more. So set this aside. So we're just gonna imagine like how they do on Food Network. We put it in the oven and it's already baked off. I always remember when dealing with cooked food, always remember to wear your gloves. So we have our eclairs that have been baked off magically. And what I do is that the bottom, you can see, I don't know where the camera is, but I poke 2 holes at the bottom of the eclair. And what I'm doing is I'm gonna add pastry cream. Now you can add whatever filling is that you want. Pastry cream basically is a thickened custard, and we use it for a variety of pastry. You can use it for fruits, fruit tarts, and you can also use it for a base for a cake. So you're just gonna cut the tip. So this flavor that I use is soursop pastry cream. And it's gonna pair well with the apple butter that I prepared also. So what I'm doing is I'm actually now just filling inside of the eclair. And be generous because you want the whole bite. You want to taste the nice, lovely filling. Now, with pastry cream is also versatile. I love sour sop, so I was using that today. But you can use any kind of fruit puree that you like. So what I have inside this bowl is called pâte à glacière, and it's basically just tempered chocolate. It works great for professionals. You don't have to temper chocolate for 60 years. It's something that you can just put on the stove, warm literally for 2 seconds, and it's gonna melt. So do we have any more questions?
A question. Why did you put the chocolate on the stove using the pot with boiling water and not
Well, you don't-
directly on the stove?
Well, you don't want to put this stainless steel mixture with the chocolate on the stove because it's gonna burn. We'll catch a fire in here, and the taste of the chocolate, it won't be nice at all. So you can check, melt that down a little bit. And I show in school that you can either use pâte à glacière or you can use fondant, and you can see it's melting literally right now in 2 seconds. Or you can use a, have everyone ever heard of crackling before? No? Well, a crackling, basically like a crumble you can place on top and you freeze it. You can color it whichever color you want, and it makes a beautiful design on top of the eclair or whichever design you want to make. All right, that's good. So you can see it's literally melted. If we're using regular chocolate, it would take a while to melt, but this is actually already tempered. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna dip the eclair side like this. And then this pâte à glacière comes in white chocolate as well. So this is gonna take about probably 2 to 3 minutes to set. So now to make these eclairs a bit more sexier, I have some gold luster spray, and I'm just gonna spray it on top like this. Like I said, magically made some nice apple compote. And now you can see where the top is already set. And for a little bit of crunch, some crumble on top. And then to pair the apple with the sour sop, we have some apple butter.
Chef Smith, for those who are listening out there, what actually is an apple butter?
Well, with me, what I love with pastry, and I love compromising sweet and savory, and to utilize 100% of the actual fruit. So with apple butter, what you do is you peel the apples with the skin, you reserve it with the actual core, everything else, and then you add some vinegar, some water, and some sugar and some lemon. And you can add some cinnamon, vanilla, or whatever spice you like. Let it boil for 3 hours on low heat, and it turns into a beautiful like this. And it's utilize it 100% of the actual apple, no waste. So that's a good thing as well, which you can use. All right, so that's basically it. So we have our version of an eclair. You have the soursop flavored pastry cream, and then you have an apple butter with an apple and dill compote with some citrus oil on the side.
Okay. Nice, interesting. So, Chef Smith, how much would a plate like that cost in a restaurant for a dessert?
A bit pricey, to be honest, because it's fine dining. Obviously, it look more embellished than this, but it will be a bit pricey because of the actual dessert to what it is. And to be honest with you, like I said, you can also make something savory like an appetizer. You can use the base with olive oil instead of butter. The ratio is completely different, so the science behind it is, I'll be talking forever, but you can use olive oil instead of butter with no sugar and a pinch of salt. And what it does, it provides the savory aspect where you can fill it with salmon, you can fill it with cream cheese, and you can make just something beautiful of it. So I love choux paste because it's versatile. You can fill it with whatever you want. It stores pretty well. It freezes pretty well. The only disadvantage is that once it's already filled, you have to eat it within 2 hours because it gets soggy after a while. But other than that, I think it's a perfect dish, a start-off fundamentals in terms of pastry for anyone who wants to elevate it to make it look even more elaborate than this. So we have any more questions?
Yeah, I see that it is perfect for the season, the fall season. Apples and pumpkins, they are in now for the fall. And this would be a nice dish to put on our menus for Thanksgiving. And, I love Boston cream donuts.
Same,
from
my
Dunkin'
favorite.
Donuts. And when I look at the eclairs, that comes to mind, that Boston cream. And I'm so baffled by how you use the local products, soursop.
Yep.
Soursop. And so, Who would have known that soursop could have been used in an actual pastry cream? And how you married it and how you presented the colors, they are just popping. And those students out there who are part of this competition, please notice the plating style. Notice the use of the natural ingredients. Remember, we are preserving our heritage, land and sea. And so, Chef Smith, tell us all about your company. Where can we find you, Celeste Sweet Artistry?
Well, many, many years ago, I started this competition. I'm not going to say my age, I'm just short. But, and after that, my passion for pastry and the culinary arts grew even more, and worked in various hotels, restaurants, went off to school, got my bachelor's degree in baking and pastry, and I decided to come back home because I wanted to give back to my country, because I've realized there are not a lot of female Bahamian pastry chefs. So that's something that I was really into. Worked in the hotel, the pandemic came, a lot of people got furloughed, and during the interim, I was very bored. I like to work in my hands, and I decided, let me do something called the Sweetest Lockdown, which was providing pastries every weekend, switching it up for different patrons, because, you know, everyone's at home. You know, pastry is a dessert that people feel comfort from, and that's what I decided to do. And then after that, I got a lot of calls from different companies, and I said, no. You know, I wanted to do something of my own, and it's baby steps, you know. Nothing's 100% perfect, and it takes time. But that's where Celeste Sweet Artistry developed. So it's basically a home-based business, and hopefully the next year and a half we'll expand into actual storefront operation.
All right, you can leave your contacts as well to the audience, so maybe you can have some future business here.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Celeste Sweet Artistry. You can click the like button. All of my information, website, and everything is on the link attached to Instagram and Facebook.
Yes. And Chef Smith, what advice would you give to all of those future pastry chefs sitting here in the audience and those watching by way of social media?
Well, my favorite quote is in Italian. I love Italian, and I actually have a tattoo of it, and it says, "Senza la passione, il vite ioniete." Does that? Anyone have an idea what that means? No, you don't have any Italians here. But it means without passion, life is nothing. Whatever you do, whether it's with pastry, culinary, even if you don't decide to not do anything in culinary, whatever it is that you decide to do, always have passion, always have a stamina, and always have drive to pursue whatever it is that you want to do, because life is short. We've realized that over the past couple of years. So that's my advice. Stick to it. It's not easy. Keep on going, and you'll reach the pinnacle where you want to once you reach the top of the mountain.
Let's give Chef Smith a round of applause. Wonderful presentation. And we have here also this morning one of her assistants. He's going to come and he's going to talk about competing, because he also has been in international competition. So come and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chef Ryan. I'm the exciting one. This is the technical one, right? She's really, really good when it comes to pastry, right? So I'm on the hot and savory side, right? So a little bit of myself, right? So I came from CV Battle, right? And from CV Battle, I went to the National Training Agency, right? And when I graduated from National Training Agency, I got my culinary arts certifications, and also into City and Guilds, into leveling up myself into the culinary world, right? So like you all, you guys are entrepreneurs, when I say that in terms of school legends, right? And when I say school legends, it's because I always wanted to be the best in what I do, right? From representing your own individual schools or wherever you come from is what you are today. You guys are winners. I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause, first of all. Yes. So for myself, right? So me and Celeste, Chef Celeste, right? we all competed internationally on competitions, right? So we always wanted to say, how can we develop ourselves as individuals, colliding together to compete and represent one nation, right? So there's a thing called culinary competition, like you guys started, right? She was there also, right, as a winner, right? And then what you want to do is you want to uplift yourself from here, going off to college, right? And once you go off to college, you attain your associate's degree, right? And then obviously you would go on to your bachelor's, right? So furthering yourself into a competition level, because we have all types of chefs. You guys know that, right? So you would have competition chefs, you would have chefs who are executives, sous chefs, and obviously others in the media and so forth, right? So for us and for me, myself, what I did was I wanted to see how best I can say, hey, what will you do to represent your country? So obviously here at the University of Bahamas, which is one of the best schools in the world. I just want to say that, right? You know, it's a small nation. We have our forefathers who fought for us, who fight for us, for where we are today. For us to have the opportunity to represent our country on a culinary stage, like for us, to make sure you guys, and we have our forefathers of culinary arts, who've done it for us, is an honor. So Taste of the Caribbean is a competition that we have entered. In 2017, we've obtained the silver, right? 2018, we've got the gold, and 2019, we've got the gold, right? So that's an honor for the country as well, right? Yeah. So the Bahamas is always in the 1s and 2s and 3s. One thing about us, we never ever be left out, right? We always ask Shawnee Miller and Stephen Gardner, right? So when we dive in for conch, right? We gotta dive for conch and dive very, very well. Like Shawnee showed us how to do it, right? So what I want you guys to do is dive for your school. Dive to be the best. Be the best that you can be in whatever you want to be, all right? For me, what I've done is, as the first student to represent the culinary arts area in terms of the National Treating Agency, was an honor to be a rising star, all right? You guys are rising stars as well, okay? Remember, you guys should be, everybody wants to be a chef, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this is a stepping stone for you guys to get scholarships, right? To pave the way for where you want to be in your next future. Whether it's being a teacher, because some of you guys can be teaching culinary arts, right? Home economics, see the teachers are here, come to represent you guys, right? They have paved the way for you guys to be here today, to know what it is for the fundamentals and also the rewards that you can get from here, all right? So I just want to let you guys know. So what school that is over there? Louise McDonald High. Okay, we got some tough comparison here. Oh wow, this can be a tough competition, right? Oh wow, let me guess, Ellen Coakley. Oh yeah, I got that one right. Okay, good. So I want you guys to be enthused. I want you guys to know that you can be the best in what you want. Bring some flavors, bring some taste, right? It's not all about the presentation that what you're gonna bring, right? Bring taste, bring your indigenous islands, right? Bring your roots, right? And mainly your skills, okay? And then what I want you guys to also understand that even if you don't win in this competition, continue to do your best in whatever you do, because you guys are always winners, all right? Thank you.
So, best of luck to everyone who's competing in the next finals. Like he just said, always remember just to do your best. What I did, I always just focused as if I was cooking for friends and family, and I just ignored everyone in the background because if you noticed, you have chefs come in looking this and that. That's not me. I try not to scare anyone, but just always be yourself inside the competition. Always remember easy points, the sanitation bucket, making sure being professional. Knife skills are also important as well. So best of luck to each and every one of you. And just, you guys are all winners. That's how I see it. So enjoy the rest of your day. And hopefully everyone stays safe in this little mini storm that's coming.
Anyone here has a question? Because you guys have the opportunity to have chefs here who have competed, who know what it is to win, who know what it is to be in a competition like you guys, right? Who wants to know maybe one or two things that could help them with a little pep peeve, right? And make it their strength, right? Because I don't want you guys to be here and saying, okay, I got it. And then this is the free time to get what you want to know. Maybe it was a dish, maybe it's something that could work, it could tweak.
I think I heard me is Celeste Sweet Artistry, CELESTE, Sweet Artistry, and it should automatically come up on Instagram and Facebook with all my information on it. So we have one major question, or is that it? No one? No?
All right. So let's
All right.
give our chefs a round of applause. Indeed, it was a wonderful presentation. And those eclairs, we just cannot wait to taste them. Wonderful. We have a wonderful young lady here who is joining us in these sessions. And indeed, this is her birth child. Yes, the one and the only, Mrs. Sharon Ferguson. And she's going to speak. Bring a little greetings for us here at this conference.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I don't know why Mr. Butler put me on the spot like this. I never liked the limelight, but it's always a pleasure to see our teachers and students work together to make this competition a reality. Like he said, when this started in 1993, I was a teacher in the classroom at L.W. Young. And we hosted the first 5 years, and then I was moved into the Ministry of Education and then became the organizer. When we started, we had no experience. We just experimented within our departments. We brainstormed. We tried out different things. We put our ideas together. We made it a team approach. And so I want to say, in the schools where we have more than one teacher, put all your brains together along with the ideas of your students. I used to say to my students, go home, interview your grandparents and parents, and ask about the good old days. Find those old-time Bahamian dishes and modernize them, deconstruct them, and reconstruct them into something modern. Read, go through social media, watch when you go out for your own dining experiences, the things that happen, look at your plates, portion sizes, the types of garnishes, etc. you use, and just let your adrenaline flow. Celeste is a product of the Young Chef Competition, as many other persons that you would have met over the years. And I believe that this competition provides a foundation for those of you who are seriously interested in culinary art careers to get your foot wet, as we would say in the Bahamas, and to grow. And I want, on behalf of all of us as Bahamians in education, to thank our teachers and our students for your commitment to this competition. And we also want to thank our sponsors for their ongoing support for this. As Celeste said, you're all winners here. Some people can't take losses. If you don't come, some people don't come first, they give up. If you come last, let that push you harder to come back and blow it away the next year. So good luck to all of you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson. Indeed, those were encouraging words for all of us to take. And so we want now to go on a little break for 5 minutes. We're going to take a 5-minute break. You can use the bathroom. Those of you who are watching this by social media, you can take a 5-minute break and we'll be right back. morning and welcome back, yes, to another lively and provocative session here at the 6th Annual Young Chef Culinary Conference. And now we have a wonderful young man who is here who has over 15 years culinary experience, Chef Joel Johnson, and he's going to talk to you all about how to become a chef.
Good morning, good morning. First off, I have to ask this question. For the students, how many of you actually want to become a chef? Okay, so you're all not wasting your time. So you here for fashion then? You didn't raise your hand, so what you here for? Pastry. That's a chef, sir. Raise your hand again. There you go. All right, so I'll start off with the basics. To tell you the truth, being a chef and being in the industry, it's hard work. It's labor intensive. You will not feel defeated after a while. But you do get used to it. If you do love the food and if you do love to have passion for it, I promise you, you wouldn't feel anything. I started off as an apprentice right here in COB. As a matter of fact, yeah, right. We used to be in the same class, ducking classes. When we was an apprentice, ducking the work. It was fun. It was interesting. And I have my one of my high school teachers here, actually, Miss Johnson, and she could attest to you. Yeah, she could attest to you that I could not cook at all. So that's one thing I really want to point out to a lot of chefs and anybody who wants to cook. It's more than just being born with the talent to be able to do so. I just had the passion for it. And she could tell you how much times she used to laugh at me in the kitchen because I'd taken too long to debone something, or I was over seasoning this, or dropping everything. It was horrible. But I worked through it. So just to get back to the history of it. So I started off as an apprentice, worked my way up as a sous chef, executive chef, and now I'm running my own company called Chef J Catering. I'm what you would call a freelance chef. So I cater to yachts, private homes. I had a jet, I can't take them, so to yachts and private homes right now. And I'm right now trying to contract another company, and you'll see that later on in the years. But as an apprentice coming up, there's a lot of things you'd have to take in. And I would really hope when we start the apprenticeship program again, that y'all take advantage of that, because you really see a lot. The school will teach you the basics, what a mother sauce is, wash your hand for 60 seconds, always wear this really tall hat. They teach you the books. When you're in the kitchen, all of that is out the window. Every last one is out the window. I got written up on my first day as a chef for washing my hands too long. Mind you, where Farry is? Farry is the one who taught me. I know everybody knows, wash your hand and do it for 60 seconds, rub up to your elbow, and if you don't do it, you can poison somebody. So I'm trying to be a good chef, and I promise you, written up on my first day, I almost cried. But it's the truth. It's the truth, because we go there with these high expectations and we have these really big dreams. And there will be people throughout your entire career who will try to shoot you down. You will be working in Atlantis, in Ocean Club, Bahamas, wherever y'all gotta go. You'll be working there. You're gonna meet some old people who've been there for 60 years and mad you trying to do something with your life. So I would really, 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 I don't even know how to say this all cursing, but I would really hope that you guys could just hold your head and just stay focused on what you claim that you love. You say you want to be a pastry chef. All right. To be honest, I started off with pastry. I still dabble with pastry, but then when I started dealing with food, I was like, no, this my new woman right there. I gotta get married to this. That's it. I'm done. And I just grew from there. Mind you, like I said, I couldn't cook. On my first actual job that was outside of apprentice, I overcooked $670 something worth of lamb. It's the truth. I could call the chef right now, and he'd still curse me out to this day. But I knew what I wanted to do, and despite people telling me, you should try something else, you should do this, you should do that, trying to deter me from being what I knew I wanted to be. Stayed focused, went home, I used to buy my stuff, started training, is be on YouTube. I used to call my chefs, hey chef, how do you do this? Show me how to do this. It'd be 12 o'clock at night sometimes. And I try and I burn it on my mother kitchen easy. But then after that first rough year pass, started getting into it. Met some great chefs who was holding me down, got into competitions, and then next thing you know, people asking me, oh, how'd you cook this? How'd you make this? And it's just practice. And that's something that I really have to really push into you guys, because a lot of people have the talent, They can cook March, they ain't gotta do nothing until September, and they still got the same palate, they still got the same taste. If I don't cook for a month, I gotta start over again. But that's just my love for it. As a line chef, well, Jesus, a line chef. Anyway, let me avoid that entirely. Because the hours are hard. And I know people tell you, oh, you have to, go step by step. I think I started off as a sous chef. So I think I was just blessed with doing it. I never was really a line cook. I was an apprentice and then went into a sous chef position. And then from there, after like 5-6 years, I was an executive chef. And I was one of the executive chefs except for Pratt. I think he's the youngest in the Bahamas. I was the youngest executive chef in the Bahamas at that time. And that lasted for about a year or two. And then I prefer working for myself because I had a lot of clients calling me and say, hey, when are you available to fly up or do certain things? But it's labor intensive. I would also recommend that for a lot of chefs too, you keep your recipes. I still have recipes from my first apprentice day, and I will still go back and be like, okay, let me mix this with this particular thing, and then through experience, you just know how to do a couple things. But before I get too long-winded, anybody got any type of questions or how to do what, when to do what, or how to not slap somebody? Okay, y'all good. All right. I would talk about. Well, let me backtrack to at least my executive chef years or my sous chef. No, my sous chef years working with a couple of chefs, because you're going to meet some people who will just be like I mentioned before, really who hate their life. That's the best way I could put it. They hate their life and they are mad that you can't do something with yours, and they will set you up. They will do whatever you have to do, but you just gotta stay focused with that. When I first started training up, I fell in love with the whole Japanese culture, the whole Japanese theme of it, and I think I told you about that as well. So I trained under a lot of Japanese chefs and taught myself a couple of things. So my personal flair is Japanese with a Bahamian flair, and we have the same. If you look at it, we have the same seasons, the same flavors. They use coconuts, mangoes, pineapples, fish, all that stuff as well. So it just works for me. For people who want to do more classical, when it comes down to the whole French thing, I think French, in my opinion, is overrated. But then that's just me. I just hating on people. I know Celeste like her stuff. But I think it's overrated. What's the next thing? I'm trying to monologue for Chef Ellie. So excuse me if I sound long-winded. Yes, ma'am. Say that again?
Oh, I like you need the mic.
Say that again?
Because you have to get the mic. That's where the camera goes.
Good day.
Oh.
I have a question. What is apprentice chef?
Okay, so an apprentice chef is a chef in trainee. That's something that we had when I was in the program at COB, and we're trying to restart that. It's pretty much you're a student, and you shadow a chef or a restaurant. That's pretty much it. And you work the same hours, but you wouldn't work as hard. You really just shadowing the head chef, and he's teaching you certain skills, certain things, and certain basic skills in the restaurant. Now, what will happen? That's the beauty of it. But what will really happen is you're now a lapdog. So it's just cheap free labor. When you're supposed to be learning a mother sauce, you could be cutting onions in the corner all night. I promise you that. I used to cut 8 cases of tomatoes for an Italian chef. But that was my week. But you meet some chefs who really is like, you know what, let me teach you something. When I was in Ocean Club and I met Chef Manny and whatnot, they really held me down. Who held me down and taught me, the basics of actual, like being a saucier, dealing with pastries, dealing with your meats, and how to really knock things out. So when we do start the apprenticeship program again, I will repeat this, I really hope you'll take advantage of it. The whole process is very simple. When you come in, you apply for it. We'll have different chefs. I think I'll be one of the chefs as well, who will be coming down, and then we just pick the people that we want to train. Even though you want to be, like, for example, you might want to go to Atlantis or Bahama will have to pick you. So that's just pretty much how it's set up, and we can only hold a certain set of people. Bahama, of course, probably take like 50 people. I could only personally take 2. we're trying to get, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Island House. You all know, yeah, I'm very familiar with them. I'm trying to get Island House in it. There's a place called Cocoa Plum. He messaged me this morning. He said he'll take a few people with pay. So there's a chance you will get paid as well. And Atlanta's taking some as well, and we're trying to get Ocean Club back online. So you're gonna have an opportunity to meet a lot of really good chefs. You're gonna see a lot of different clients, and then you're gonna really understand the hellhole kitchen really is. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna be this chef, and I'm gonna stand here and cook this one thing, and then people are gonna love my food. That is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. You're gonna stand there, and you're gonna have 80 things coming at you at one time, and you're gonna have the amount of stress. If you can't handle stress, if you cannot handle stress, I don't recommend doing something else, but I recommend trying to get used to that now. It's the truth, because 8 o'clock is the gateway to hell. We used to call it the gateway to hell. We used to be singing that song sometimes. The highway to hell. But 8 o'clock is a crunch time where I need this done, and I don't care what you believe in, who you are, who your mother is, or anything. I need it done today, and if you can't get it done, go home. And that's it. Come back tomorrow when you have some sense, and if you on your third try, come find the next job, find the next kitchen. I can't take you. Yes, ma'am.
Wait for the mic, please. Pass the mic down, please.
Good afternoon. We have some teachers joining us via Zoom.
Okay.
And I have a question from Janet Dean. And she is asking, would you be willing to come to Grand Bahama to do a presentation to hospitality students desirous of joining this noble career?
Yeah, 100%. I will definitely be willing to do so. Just let me know the dates, and if I am available, not to sound too pretentious, but if I'm available, then I'll definitely love to come down and show you guys something.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You can also let them know that there are chefs in Freeport who could assist her.
Well, I've never been to Freeport a day in my life, so which she said. I like free things. I mean, I gotta be honest. Send a plane ticket. That's what I used to know. But yeah, I'll definitely be available. I actually for her school, I keep forgetting the name. It's McCaffrin. I keep saying like Kraken and all type of. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so I'm already planning on training you two. I'll pick up one more person when the year comes. But to bounce back on the apprenticeship program, like I said, you're under chefs, you're training, the kitchen's going to be a hellhole. But then the beauty of the apprenticeship program is that you have a lot of opportunities, because now you're able to go away for competitions that you normally never really be able to get a hold of. You'll be able to be under a lot of chefs that you normally wouldn't be hired. Like normally they wouldn't hire regular people out there, but then you being an apprentice, you have that little oomph to be like, hey, for example, I worked under Bobby Flay when I was an apprentice. I worked at, don't be impressed, he can't talk. But I worked under him for a while, and it was pretty nice to see the chefs who you always knew, to really see them working, how they work and how they handle things, and you go from there. But then I find out that the actual chefs, we got the best chefs. I tell you this now. I traveled from here to Japan, and I tell you for a fact, the Bahamas does have the best chefs. One hands down. We don't know that. We just season better. No, it's the honest to God truth. A lot of competitions I've been in, they always asking me how did I get the flavors like this, blah blah blah. I say I just added salt. You all don't know what salt is. So there's that. So going into apprenticeship, and then after apprenticeship, I think it's like 4 years. Apprenticeship program is like 3 to 4 years.
3 years. 2,000, 6,000, 4,000 hours, and 6,000 hours. The hours that we have on the table right now, we have a selected working committee right now. On that working committee for the apprentice program is... Okay, let me officially introduce. Good morning. Piggybacking on the apprentice program, as the former coordinator and president of the Chef Association, we were called to the table not only by the chefs but also by education, and so the mandate is to get this program going. And this is our third meeting now, meeting with a working committee of chefs from Atlantis, Breezes, Sandals, Bahamas. And also we have a chef like a Publix. So we have the big franchise, food franchise that runs a deli and runs a butcher shop and other things. So you're not looking at only opportunities to work in a hotel. You're also looking at opportunities like just if you were to go to Publix, because remember, we have properties and shopping, food shopping market that sets up like a Publix. And so they will be taking on at least 2, maybe 1 apprentice to every property or 2 so that they can rotate. And to tell you the truth, we're looking at having a very grand 4th meeting where we be looking at the structure. We're just restructuring and bringing the apprentice alignment with the university standard, because we had the apprentice articulated and associated with the American Culinary Federation, and also by being a member of the American Culinary Federation, you're also a member of the World Chef Association. And so all the stuff that I've been telling everybody for the past, from 97 since returning here, the key thing is we're going to have to do some crash courses, because all the chefs that are managing apprentice has to be certified to be able to sign off the papers, because this is not a joke program. This is serious international standard. And so we're going to be doing crash courses for all the chefs. All the supervising chef has to be certified to sign off on their apprentice paperwork, because you're going to be doing rotation. And we're looking at 2-year as an associate degree and 2-year as a bachelor degree. So you're looking at 4-year overall, and that's what they really want. Because if you, right now, Atlantis chefs, the chefs that from Atlantis, executive chefs are the chefs that wrote some of the material that is in line with American Culinary Federation, because they're World Association of Chefs. And they're coming through from Australia. Australia is very British or structured in their education. So as an apprentice, you're going to be going through the whole system. And so it's a part of our working committee. And so we meet again twice in November. We will meet, because we will have the document, and we'll upgrade the document, upload the document, refine the document with our stakeholders. And I'm speaking, but Chef Sanders is the HOD, Ms. Williams is the chair, and Chef Mario Adley is the dean. And by us having the university, having us by ourselves as a brand, that is one of the major programs, because it's been a 32-year gap in skilled workers within our industry, just a single industry, which is hotel, tourism management, and culinary. So you can imagine all the other avenues. If we have 32-year gap, we can't stop anybody from coming in, because we are not qualified to run the dish machines. And so we're telling you, as an apprentice, you have to know from the floor to the roof and outground. So you're going to be an apprentice working all areas. You're not going to go home and cry, say you work the pot station. It's a part of your job. As an apprentice, you need to know the whole entire property. And you're not going in there as a girl. I went in there as a girl. But when you have to do those work, you can't call the guys, because all is making the same salary. So let's. And in this room, you can see 99% of y'all will be here. And we have 1% male. And each cohort, we're looking at each cohort having a first year, 20 student, second year, 20 student, third year, 20 student. That's 60 student. Each one, the big stakeholders want 50 to 60 student to start off as first year. The first year, they run first year, second year, third year, that's 60 student. The other big bird will have 60. So we're looking at 120 students. But remember, we're still 32 years behind. So we got 3,200 students we have not been able to run through the program. And that's just 2 properties. That isn't the small properties. That isn't the private homes. And the last 8 graduated from Life at Key. And we were blessed. They graduated before lockdown. But we have an articulation and certification. And they the names, the stuff behind our name, and we work for those. They're practical exam and they're theoretical exam. And there's your 6,000 hours an apprentice or your 4,000 hours an apprentice. And that's it. And you have Marcus and Strawn graduated, and Joanne. All the apprentice. Any more apprentice? Joanne, Marquis, Rochelle, and you have Lisa. Lisa was blessed because it was 2 of them in the program out of our house at the same time. It was a double Johnson, yes. And and you know, we ain't going there. And so it is a very good program. It learns you skills. You would never ask us the question you asked us if your kids were coming here in another program we had, and that was a Slipstream program. And the Slipstream program is a program when the kids came to us from grade 10. And they came and spent a day with us. And I think it used to be a Wednesday. And remind me of when I was a student at R.M. Bailey. Every Wednesday, we had to go to do VOTEC. It didn't care if you was an academic student. Miss Butler was on to something at R.M. Bailey. She made sure you went to a skill base. So you came out with all your BGs, these have BG, what it was? GCEs, Pittman, RSA. We had all of those, but we still had a skill base. So you teachers and principals and managers of school, you have to go back to basic and work with what worked. You can't take skills out. Skills keep the students stimulated. And we know the guidance counselors and everybody else would like to tell a student, go be this, go be that, go be that. We are oversaturated with some jobs that are not relevant in this day and time. Yep. And computers are even replacing chefs. Yes. Factories are replacing chefs. Because they just have to load the material and the robot and the machine does everything. But yes, we still need persons because we're in the Caribbean, Latin America, we still believe in the apprentice program. And yes, we all agreed that we have a 32-year gap in skill base. And this is us. And we're much better.
Thank you very much. You did a better job than I could do that.
Okay, and we're looking at fall 2023. Hopefully, we're trying to push the spring because they say fall, but they want it for spring.
You want it for spring?
Yeah, they want it for spring.
All right, then that's good. And to touch bases on something that she said, and I really almost forgot to mention this. All of you said you guys want to be chefs. There's a very important thing that you have to realize when it comes to just working in the kitchen. It's more than just working in the kitchen. So I'm going to ask, first off, let me ask you, because you're the only one of the guys in there. What kind of chef you want? Yeah, you don't look around. You. I know what school that is. But what chef you want to be? You want to be an executive chef. I assume, who want to be executive chef in there? What else y'all want to be? Just regular chefs? Sous chefs? Pastry chefs? Which one be? Louis Jackie, yes, ma'am. Pastry chef? Yeah. Pastry. That's interesting. All right, then, so let me tell you this right now. For those who want to be executive chefs, pastry chefs, or be in the kitchen generally, right? The culinary field is bigger than just the kitchen. So don't be afraid to work for yourself. Don't be afraid to do private homes, private yachts. Like, for example, I do private homes. I haven't been in a hotel for the past, I think, 9 years. But that's because this is better, to be honest. And it's less stress. So I would recommend all of you to just, even though you're starting off in the kitchen, you want to either try to branch off or feel your way around doing other things. And don't be afraid to fail. You will fail. You get over that part. But then what matters most is after you mess up, after you have that failure process, you get back up and work towards what you messed up on. Make it better. Own it. This is what I did. I know I messed up. Okay, then how do I make it better? That's that. But that's pretty much it. She mentioned the apprenticeship program. A lot of being a chef is pretty much experience. I could talk all day, but then you really wouldn't notice anything until you actually are there. Everybody's experience will be different, especially for the women. Y'all get do bad. I can be honest. It's the honest. Like the kitchen is a sexist place. You get talked to bad, and just like how she said, you're not going there as a woman. Or don't be like, oh, I as a woman I can't lift 10 pounds or whatever. Miss, lift it. 90, yeah, you got to ask her. And enough times, I remember one time I got in trouble for helping because I walk off my station to help somebody lift a stock pot. I get in trouble for that. Why on my station? So be prepared for those type of things. Be prepared for the mental stress. It can be a lot more than the physical stress. But once you get past that, and you'll be able to kick somebody up after that, and you're making your money, you're good to go. But anyway, thank you all for letting me waste your time for 15 minutes.
Let's give Chef Johnson a round of applause. It is wonderful to hear from another chef and how you can make it within this industry. It's a vast industry, and we all can make it. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We don't want you to leave out of the audience. Just a 2-minute break until our next presenter set up for the next session. afternoon, and again, welcome back to the next session. Yes, almost afternoon. Good morning to all. Good morning to all. It has been such an exciting day today, and we are having a great time here in the studio here, where we are learning all about sustainability in the culinary arts over land and sea. And today, in this next session, we have a very vibrant young man who has over 40 years of culinary experience within this Bahamas. And indeed, he has experience around the world. Started off here in the Bahamas and then moving to Westminster, and he did a lot of training with City and Guilds. And so we have an executive chef, a well-trained chef, one who has been a lecturer here at the College of the Bahamas and indeed the University of the Bahamas. And so he is now going to demonstrate to us how to make stocks. Yes, remember I said earlier, we will lose nothing. We will reuse, reduce, and recycle. And so now coming to demonstrate how to do white and brown stock right now is Chef Charles Missick.
Good morning. Whenever I get opportunity to impart my knowledge on younger students, it always gives me an excitement and a joy to share some of the knowledge I've gained over the years. Actually, I was in one of the first apprentice group that we graduated in 1976 from this college. Okay? In fact, it was at the old college at City, Sweden. And when this college reopened in 1993, I was actually the senior instructor here at the college who opened this college. All right. So I furthered my education in the 80s. It's been 7 years in London. All right. And I came back and also I rejoined the college as also an instructor. So I'm happy also to share and to impart some of the knowledge I've gained over the years. Now, my topic today is actually on stocks, sauces, thickening agent. Whenever we think of stock, in fact, stock in French means fond. Fond is actually foundation. So my mind always go back to the contractor. Whenever you build a house, you need a strong foundation. Okay, start from the foundation. In fact, our grandfather of modern cuisine, Auguste Escoffier, in his first book, The Guide to La Cuisine, he actually has stock listed at the #1 chapter, all right, because it means foundation. So whenever you have to cook soup, gravies, some rice dishes, everything begins with a stock, and you must have a foundation in order to build on. So how do we make stock, or what is stock? Okay, in basic terms, stock is a combination of bones and vegetable with some seasonal ingredients that's not including salt. Seasonal ingredients, not including salt, okay? That's actually boiled, blanched together or simmered together for a gentle and prolonged cooking period. A stock should actually never really, once it comes to boiling point, it should never continue to boil. Okay? Now, there are two basic stock when you make from chicken bone. There's actually a white stock, which is actually the raw bones. And then there's the brown stock, which is actually pre-roasted bone an inch of time. Right? I was expecting a 2-hour session, but of course time did not allow me to do that because I had a lot of other stuff to do. Right? Now, stock is always started with cold water. Okay? Now, the reason being is that if you add hot water, the hot water will actually seal the bones. So what you need is to add cold water so that when the water comes to temperature, it extracts all of the flavor. You know, bones has actually protein in the middle, right? So here I have some cold water ready, started. And I pour this on the bones and the vegetable. Right? And the water must cover the bones and the vegetable. Now I can place it on the stove. Now, just before I came here, I browned the the bones and the vegetables. Now, actually, I'm working with turkey bones because, you know, this is Thanksgiving time, all right? Normally, we use chicken stock, right? But because it's Thanksgiving, there's a lot of turkey bones around. I'm working with actually turkey bone. Fill up me, please. All right. Now, the two basic types of stock is white stock and brown stock, and it depends on what you're actually cooking, right? And if you get the stock right, it will actually avoid you using this and also this. In fact, when I worked in London, I've never seen these. These never existed in the kitchen, okay? Everything started from a stock, and when we cooked the individual meat, we actually had to make a sauce from it. Okay, here, pour in the please. Top up the water for me. All right. So I'm working with turkey bone. Now, whenever you read a book on stock, right, the book will tell you 4 to 5 hours or 5 to 6 hours based on who wrote the book, right? Now, at these times, with gas went up and electricity went up, in case you have electric stove, can you imagine putting this 1 gallon of stock on the stove for 6 hours? But how much can you actually price that meal for after cooking this for 6 hours? So I've actually found a formula, okay? I've found a formula over the years because I also teach us culinary in the evening, right? And my formula is chicken has two legs, so 2 hours, right? Cow has 4 legs, so you let it simmer for 4 hours, okay? So, all right? Easy formula, right? Chicken has 2 legs, 2 hours. Cow has 4 legs, 4 hours, okay? And you basically get actually the end result that you want. Now, diet of actually putting it on the fire to bring it to the boil. Now, out this boil, you will have impurities or scum that come from the blood or the fat that will flow to the top, all right? So as that flow to the top, put some water in your phone, please. All right. As it flow to the top, what you want to do is actually skimming. And the reason why we skim it is actually to make it clear, to stop the grease from flowing back into it from going greasy. Okay? All right. So I did obviously to keep this clear and to keep skimming it. Right. Now, while the two stock is on, there's also some other stock. There's one called fish stock, if you are actually making fish dishes. Right? Fish stock. Thank you. Yeah. Now, fish have no legs. So fish stock takes 20 minutes. Right? That 20 minutes after you've sweat the bones and herb, and then you add the water, 20 minutes after that. Okay? All right. So you have fish stock, you have chicken stock, you have beef stock. So 1, no legs, 20 minutes. Right? 1, 2 legs, 2 hours, and 1, 4 legs, 4 hours, basically. Now, most every kitchen you go in, even a Chinese kitchen, you'll find all the chicken stock, okay, which is actually the white stock, right? Because this is what we call our flexible stock, right? This is actually the most used stock around, the chicken stock. Even if you're doing some seafood dishes, you still use chicken stock. For example, if you look at some recipes, if you're making lobster bisque, you'll use chicken stock. If you're making conch chowder, you'll use chicken stock, you know? Even though it's a seafood dish, you still want to use the stock that's actually more married with any flavor, okay, that's not overpowering, all right? You'll find that fish stock and the lobster bisque will be fishy. Fish stock and the conch chowder will be fishy. So to get a balance, you'll always use chicken stock, okay, basically for anything, all right? Because everything actually overpowers the chicken stock, so it blends with everything, all right? Now, if you get the stock right, in fact, before you start, now, when you're making stock, you want the bones, if not frozen, fresh as possible. Should have no scent, okay? No scent, shouldn't be slimy, okay? So the bone should actually be in a good condition, basically. So if you have the bone that's been sitting in the blood for a couple of days, you actually want to run cold water, basically called blanching, and you want to rinse the bone off, right? That will actually run some of the blood off and actually make the bones sort of whitish, right? Okay. Now, if you know that the difference between these two stock is when you're making the chicken stock, right? In fact, the vegetable I have inside that is onion, carrots, celery. And then I have like 2 bay leaves in this, right? And the other one, I have the same ingredients, but the only thing is with the onion, I didn't peel the onion because we get the color from the onion peel, all right? But with this one, I peeled the onion, all right? So you want much color from this that you want to based on the color that you're gonna actually make your sauce, all right? All right, I just want to refer to my notes so I don't forget anything. All right? All right. All right. All right. All right. Yeah. So it's important always to start always with cold liquid, okay? Like I said, if you start with hot liquid, okay? Hot seals the bone and it keeps the flavor in. So basically what you want most of the flavor to come out. And so as the water comes to a boil, it starts to pull the flavor out, okay? Always start stock with cold water, all right? Now, once you have actually made your stock, right, you then want to get your stock as strong as possible in order to avoid using these, right? And that is actually done by concentrating, by reducing it. So, as I make the stock, I will actually put this in a smaller container, right? In a smaller container, let it simmer slowly, and I'll reduce this by half. And once I reduce this by half, I will get something like this. This is normally what we call like a glaze, right? Glaze, okay. Now, there's a word in French that they call glace, right? Which means ice, right? So, if you were to make a fish glaze, right? You'll call it like glace de poisson, which means it's a fish glaze, right? Or basically a fish stock, reduced fish stock, okay? So that'll actually be the same as actually using this in a fresh stage. So when people talk about 5-star restaurant or kitchen, right? Basically you should actually probably see none of this existing. You would probably want to see more of this, okay? More of this. Now, earlier I said that when you're making the stock, you do not use salt, right? Because as we make the stock, and I keep on reducing, it will get salty and strong, okay? And if I reduce this here to a third, this will become salty, okay? And that basically would inside this here, right? A lot of salt, but enhanced flavor. And so this will actually do the same thing, right? Enhance the flavor. Right? A good stock always make a good stew, right? A good stock always make a good sauce. Now, once we've got our basic stock, then there are derivatives or sauces that we can make from these stock. Okay, in other words, when you make a white stock, from that you get a sauce we call bechamel, right? You can get a sauce bechamel, right? Or velouté, sorry. It depends on, or cream sauce. Now, milk and roux normally the base for bechamel, right? Right. And stock and roux means velouté. Right. Velouté comes from the word velvet, which means you end up with a velvet sauce. Now, many years ago, they used to make these thick sauces like bechamel with milk and so on, right? I haven't seen that around a lot, right? When people tend to make lasagna, they tend to use the bechamel and add cheese, right? But today's modern technique, you can actually just make a velouté, you can add cheese, and then you basically get a cheese sauce, and you can actually use that rather than milk, right? Milk isn't easy to work with because somehow it will curdle based on how you handle it, right? How you handle it. Milk will curdle. All right, so the basic stock are fish stock, chicken stock, and beef stock. Right? They're the 3 basic stock. So after you get the stock, now you want to actually turn this into a sauce. Right? Now you turn this into a sauce actually by making what we call a roux. Right? And what is a roux? Roux is equal quantities of fat and flour. It didn't say butter and flour. It said fat and flour. In other words, let's say at home, many times you may roast a chicken. They are dripping from the chicken that you tend to throw away, right? Now that already have chicken flavor in it, right? And it also basically is oil. So many times when you roast chicken, you throw the oil off, you're actually throwing money away, right? So that same chicken fat that you got that roasted from the chicken, you take that and you mix it with flour, right? And when you mix it with flour, it must not be greasy, okay? You have to add enough flour, actually, so that it's non-greasy, right? So once you make a chicken stock and you take a roux, and you cook the roux with this stock, it becomes thickened. You can then turn it into a sauce based on what you're making. Now, there are 3 types of roux. There's a white roux. A white roux is actually made by, when you add equal quantities of fat and flour, and you just cook it for a couple of minutes to a sandy texture, then it's known as a white roux. You cook it a little longer, it starts to turn color, like opaque, then you'll normally call it a blonde roux. Right? And the blonde roux you use for what we say like the velouté, like this. And then you cook it much longer, like when people making stew fish and so on, that becomes a brown roux. So when you add a brown roux with a brown sauce, then you'll get something known as a sauce espagnole, all right? So brown roux, brown sauce gives you like what they call like a brown gravy. It's called espagnole. So in the Bahamian vernacular, right? Rather than they using this when they're making stew for you, they shortcut you and they never really have the flavor. You tend to want to make a brown roux, okay? Now, you can also brown the flour just by putting the flour in the oven or putting it in the cast iron pan, putting it on the slow cooker and just stir it around, okay? The flour becomes brown as well, all right? So one of the most used flour we use right now, I think, is stew, which is the brown flour, right? But people, like I said, tend to take shortcut, okay? And they always tend to buy Mr. Brown. Right. So now, if you notice over here, I don't know if you can see this in cloud, but the brown stock starting to boil. So as this boil, I will reduce the fire because I only want it to simmer, right? And if you look at the white stock here, you'll see where now the sediment start to come to the top, all right? So this is the result of the fat and also the blood from the bones, okay? So that'll form what they call scum on the top, right? So as this comes to the boil, you want to turn this down lower. You want to lower the fire because this should never be continuous boiling. You basically just want it to simmer that the water's basically just tinkling. All right, okay, so I still haven't regulated this fire enough. Turn it down a little bit more. Okay, so the brown stock came to a boil first. So now you'll find that the brown stock will have actually less grease because once I've browned the bones, that displays all of the fat from that. And so I'll have less grease in this one, right? After I throw the fat off. Now, there's still fat in these bones here or from the skin, so that's why I'll have more scum and fat in the white stock, all right? So, all right. Okay, and you're not a skim? You're not a skim? Okay. Okay, so basically the art of skimming is actually there to push the scum to the side, and you'll take the ladle and you just barely run around the edge of the pot with the ladle, and you'll find that scum that we normally call like unwanted or foreign bodies will actually come in the ladle, all right? So this is basically how it looks, all right? You get that in there. Once again, you'll slightly push because you don't really want to agitate the water. And you basically just take the ladle and you just slightly go around the edge of the pot. The fat is normally always to the side of the pot, okay? The fat and the scum normally always come to the side of the pot. So you push the scum one side. And you just barely take the ladle and you just run around the edge of the pot, okay? And you'll find that the fat will actually... You want to try this? You want me? Okay. The ladle, you would always shorten the ladle when you hold it, right? So slightly. Okay, not the entire thing, just the top of the wrist. You push one side. And you just barely let the tip inside here so that the fat fall into the spoon. Okay, fall into the spoon. You want to try that? Okay, so half the ladle, shorten it, okay. No, not too much. Slowly, slowly, yeah. You don't want to agitate the water because you don't want to scum from the bottom. That's in the bottom, now to come to the top. All right. Just, yeah, slowly go around. Yeah, top of the spoon, yeah, not too deep. Slowly go around. Okay, let me see that spoon. Okay. All right, now push it again, try it again. So push one side, yeah, slowly. Push one side slowly. And just take a spoon and just run around to the edge of the pot and the grease will actually fall. All right? So that's the job I'll give you to do for a short while till I get it clear, okay? You take your time to get some practice. Okay, so the vegetable that oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is there an easier way that it can be skimmed?
Easy way too.
Is there an easier way that you can take the skim out?
There's actually another way, right? But also you still have to do a little skimming. As this stock boil, you can take a pint of cold water, right? And then you add to this. That will actually help to float the sediment to the top. And then you're able to actually to skim it slowly. But to clear this up, you basically have to either skim it, or you can use, one of the sandwich paper that we call the pan liners, okay? You know, the paper that they wrap sandwich in, or the wax paper. You can take, or the napkin, you can take a lot of them, you can actually run it over the top. Now, it depends on how much napkin that you have to use, or the paper. You can just keep on running it on the top, and actually the grease will attach to the paper, all right? Hold on. Sorry, go ahead.
You wouldn't suggest egg white, because I think some people say they use egg white. I'm not sure.
Egg
white.
Egg white, that's another sauce. If you are making a sauce consomme, right, you'll actually add egg white to your stock, whether it's the brown stock or the white stock. But you still need to, you still want to skim this first, okay? And, because remember now, this is going to be on for maybe 4 hours or 2 hours, right? And as that on at the time, the oil that's in there, that's going to constantly just be simmering, and somehow the oil will some of the flavor will tend to disperse into the stock, all right? So you would basically want to clarify that first before you actually add egg white, all right? All right. Sorry. Sorry?
A slow cooker.
Slow cooker. A slow cooker? Well, actually, I have this now on stores that this can get, actually. Yeah.
I'm just saying, the electric slow cookers that you have, I was asking if you can use like a slow cooker to do the stocking.
I'm not familiar with working with slow cookers, actually. I only used to working actually with these commercial stores, So I tend to just turn as low as possible. Or, when you have the large can that you cut the number 10 can that you cut the top off, you tend to put that on your burner and then just let it cook also. We call it damper, I think, in those days. Damper, right? You'll put a damper on it and just slightly get heat from the damper. Sorry.
Why I'm asking is because, like, with the cost of gas and you think about electricity, if you use the electricity with the slow cooker, it has the same effects. I was just wondering if you would be able to, how effective it would be using a slow cooker.
So the slow cooker, is that electric or gas?
The electric slow cookers, the slow cookers.
Crock pot.
Yeah.
Crock pot. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm just, but you still need to cook it the length of time.
First. I mean, you start it in the pot and then put it in the. If you start it in the pot.
Oh, and then
put it in the slow cooker.
Yes.
So for the 4 hours, so that it would make sure maintain the cooking temperature. That's what I mean.
Yes, but then that's still 4 hours with electricity, because you said that's electric, right? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's still 4 hours using electricity, though.
Still the same time.
Yeah, that's still 4 hours using electricity. Okay. Yeah, just go slow. Yeah, run it slow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Run it slow. Okay, so the vegetable that I started at first, it is called a mirepoix, right? A mirepoix. Mirepoix means vegetable that you actually cut in large chunks. I think about 1 inch in sizes. Now, the reason why you wouldn't cut these small, because as these boil or as these simmer, you don't want the vegetables to break up. That's actually gonna be attracted to that's actually gonna depart the color of the vegetables into the stock itself, all right? So you want the vegetable to be as big as possible so that it doesn't break. Now, also, if you notice here, I brought here one overripe tomato. One overripe tomato, right? Now, once your chicken stock has been came to a boil and it's simmering, come here 1 second, please. Right? You can then take an overripe tomato, cut this in four for me, please. You can take an overripe tomato, right? And you can cut it in large wedges, not chop up, right? Okay. All right, so put 2 pieces in this pot and then 2 inside the beef stock, right? So you can take an overripe tomato, put it to the end, sorry. 1 second. Go on, continue. Shorten it up, eh? Shorten a little, you're right. Okay, good. All right, put that in the other point. All right, so you can take an overripe tomato and add it to the chicken stock. It also helps to clear it up. Okay, help to clear up the stock as well. Yeah. And the color wouldn't actually affect the color from the tomato wouldn't actually affect the color of the stock either. All right. So overripe tomato also enhances the clearness of the stock. Sorry. All right. And definitely will add color to and taste to the beef stock itself. All right. Yeah. So once again, the main part should always be large. Okay, so that it doesn't break up in the stock when you're cooking it. Now, once again, some principles is the stock always got to be started in cold water, right? It have to simmer gently, right? And then you don't want to agitate. You don't want to agitate the ingredients in the stock. Right? And actually, once it comes to boil, you should never actually boil. And when this is finished, we want to strain this. We want to strain it to a fine strainer. And then we want to put it into another pot, and then we want to reduce it. Now, earlier I said you add other seasoned ingredients, excluding salt. Now, persons who go to the hospital, sometimes they're old people, and they're also persons who actually can't take salt. So the reason you don't add salt to this is because so that persons you can make a broth that won't have any salt in it for the person who actually is sick, okay, who needs unsalted flavoring broth. Right? And also, because of the length of time that actually it's going to boil, if you have salt in it, it's going to become salty. Sorry, man. Somebody asked a question? No? No? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. So, once again, once we've made our stock and reduced the stock, right, we'll then turn it into what we call glaze, right? In French, we call these glace. We call these glace, okay? Glace. Now, for a fish glaze,
So we are doing like meat. So I just wanted to ask that if we were like doing like a vegetable type stock, would it only like take like 10 minutes or so? Or what would you recommend?
For vegetable stock, basically 1 hour. 1 hour simmering. For vegetable stock, 1 hour. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So once again, once we reduce these, we get what we call, like I say, they call them glaze, but in French they call it glace because they resemble ice. And the way we actually make these is we actually put these in the ice, like the ice pan itself, and then so we make ice cube. That's why they call it glace. And once they get ice cubes, we'll actually put these in jars. Then you put in the freezer, and they can last for up to 3 months. So whenever you're cooking something, you have to take a ice cube out or a glass out, and then you'll add it to whatever you're cooking. And that'll be just like actually using this. Right? Now.
Excuse me, for the stock, would you use the top? Would you put it in the bowl? Would you throw it away or would you use it for something?
Sorry, come again?
Would you use this, when you skim it, would you use it for something or would you throw it away?
I didn't get that. Come slowly.
She wants to know, The skim and stuff, you discard it, right? You don't use it over.
Start the what?
Did you skim? Did you skim from the...
You skim off.
Skim? Oh, this? Oh, no, you got to discard that. With the skim, you got to discard that. That's no good. Scum. Yeah, definitely that's no good. Okay. Now, do the same thing with the beef stock for me. Remember? Yeah. Lower the ladle. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So you never hold a ladle from the end of the spoon, okay? Right. All right. Same thing. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, when I work in London from 1982 to 1989, even though London or England, they speak English, all of the communication in the kitchen was actually French. Okay? French. You never say, well, pick up two of this, two of that, right? Everything was French. So basically the names and food you have to actually be familiar with, right? So chicken, whole chicken they'll call poulet. You'll see something poulet. But on the menu time, you'll see like a volaille, right? So when you're making a glaze, that'll be glace de volaille, okay? Glace de volaille for chicken. When you're making a beef glaze, you'll see glace de viande for beef. And when you make a fish glaze, you'll see the glace de poisson, right? Glace de poisson, right? In fact, when I taught here at the college, I taught the Friday night classes, and all of the menus were actually written in French, and the subtitles were actually in English, right? Because for the 82 to 89 that I spent there was hardly ever any English speaking in the kitchen, whenever the kitchen open, you know? All the food items, like I said, was French, you know? And if they said, you picking up, it was like on command. You never say, pick up this, on command, you know? All right. So I am actually quite familiar with the French term. In fact, you might see that I don't really have an English accent because the amount of persons that I've worked with over the years are from Italy, from France, from Germany, from Morocco, from so on, right? Many times I have to adapt the way I speak, actually for them to really understand me, okay? And so you may find me sometimes going a bit fast. So all you have to try, like I said, ask questions and slow me down. Okay. All right. Now, this one is still high boiled too much. Okay, skim it again for me. 1 second. Yeah. All right. This still is still a little too high for me. Still boiling a little too much for me. Okay. Skim that. Okay. So all right, so now basically I think I've finished with stock now. Now let's talk about thickening agents, right? Thickening agent. So there are many thickening agents that you use, right? So there's the flour and water that Bahamians are actually familiar with that they call slurry, I think. They call it slurry, right? Right? You call it slurry, right? Yeah. No, I don't know where the word the slurry came from, right? That's something I just actually learned lately. Okay, slurry, right? But some of the more familiar ones that I'm actually familiar with is beurre mané. Beurre mané. I don't have a board to write it down, right? But it's butter, B-U-E-R-R-E, butter in French, and mané, M-A-N-E-A, mané, right? It means kneaded butter. And to make a beurre mané is you just melt the butter, you just take the flour, and you will whisk the flour into the melted butter, and you get beurre mané. Now, beurre mané is actually used mostly for thickening fish sauces. Beurre mané. Shellfish or seafood sauces, beurre mané. Even like lobster bisque. Now, there's also, they call arrowroot or cornstarch that you dilute with cold water. That's also a thickening agent. Now, what you will find is that the slurry that we use, the flour and the water, and also the cornstarch, what they actually form is called a temporary liaison, which means that once you thicken it, you put it in the fridge, you put it back on the stove tomorrow, actually it tends to break. All right? So it's not a permanent liaison. A permanent liaison would be more or less the beurre mané and also a roux. A roux is more permanent. Now, many times people and put it in the restaurant, they might have a count chart on that thick, right? And they have that in the steam or in the bain-marie that's creating steam, or if they have it covered, right? The steam or the water from steam will break that down. It'll become really come loose, Okay, and they don't know why it became loose. That's because the slurry that they thick in the conch chowder is only a temporary liaison. Okay, it's not permanent. Okay, so flour and water, cornstarch and water will break down. A roux is more permanent, which means that the consistency you left out with, that'll probably hold it down. All right, so yeah. You also have something that's called fecule, F-E-C-U-L-E, which is more or less a potato flour that you are, in fact, mashed potato. If you are making some soup, you can actually use mashed potato to thicken it, right? Yeah. Also, you have vegetable, puree of vegetable. In fact, when I make soup now, I tend to put enough vegetable that I actually liquidize, that I don't have to actually add no other flour or anything to it. So, puree of vegetable is also a thickening agent. Butter, cold butter is also a thickening agent. And the way we use it is when we make a sauce, and we actually boil the sauce to the end, and the sauce is not thick, we tend to take the cold butter that came out of the freezer, we cut that into blocks, and we put it into the pan, and we just shake it in. And that'll also help to thicken your sauce as well, and give it a shine as well. Mm-hmm. Heavy cream is also a thickening agent. In fact, when I work in London, we actually hardly ever even use roux. If you want to make a sauce, let's say we cook a chicken breast, by the way. Once we have cooked the chicken breast, we remove that from the pan, we'll add chopped shallot, we'll add mushroom, we might add white wine, or if it's some type of whiskey that goes with that, we'll add that to deglaze the pan. After we deglaze the pan, we'll add a little heavy cream. Once we've added the heavy cream, that sauce becomes thickened without adding any flour product, all right? So there are many thickening agents that you can actually use that's natural without actually adding flour. Even if you want to make a cheese sauce, right? You boil heavy cream, and then you just grate the cheese, the heavy cream, and that'll actually make a cheese sauce in its natural form without any flour product, because there are times a person don't want flour, okay? Or they can't take flour. Then there's also egg yolks. Egg yolks. Two of the sauces that we normally make is sauce mayonnaise, that you actually start with egg yolk, that actually thicken the sauce. And there's also sauce hollandaise, okay, which is actually made with, which is the warm sauce made with egg yolks and also melted butter, okay? So that's also a thickening agent, right? Yeah. Now, all of these sauces that they call the mayonnaise, you can actually make aioli from that when you want to make a fresh. I actually wanted to make that today, but like I said, they compressed the time. Right? So once you make a mayonnaise, you can then make what they call aioli, which means you can actually add garlic to it. You can add basil. If you want to get fancy, whatever fruit we have around, guava, mango, you name it. You add it to the fresh mayonnaise, and you get a mango aioli, whatever aioli is, and plus garlic, okay, and some herb. And then there's also the hollandaise sauce. Hollandaise sauce, what you tend to use if you cooking broccoli, right? Many times they have broccoli, they use broccoli hollandaise sauce. What was very popular when I work in London was that we use hollandaise sauce mostly to glaze a lot of fish dishes. So if you were to poach a salmon dish, you normally accompany that with hollandaise sauce, right? But also, from the hollandaise sauce, there's something called tarragon, right, which is actually herb. You chop the tarragon, and you add it to hollandaise sauce. That becomes sauce béarnaise, okay? And that normally accompanied the grilled meats, the filet mignon and sirloin steak, okay? That is called béarnaise sauce. Yeah. Right. Now, there's also something called compound butter, right? Compound butter. Now, most restaurants that they have, you all may call it a restaurant manager, but in real time, they call it the maitre d'. Okay, they call all restaurant managers, they call it maitre d', right? So there's a butter that they normally use that they call beurre maitre d' hotel, which means the butter of the hotel maitre d', right? And that's known as compound butter, right? What you'll do is you'll take your regular butter, right? You will put it in a food processor. You will add whatever fresh herbs you have. You can add some lemon juice. If you have some type of liquor that you want to add to it to give it a flavor. You want to add, once again, guava, mango, sapodilli. You mix that in the butter. You would put it in the paper. You would then roll it, and you would freeze it. And if you cook a grilled chicken for somebody, grilled steak for somebody, and they don't want sauce, you just cut a piece of cold butter, and you let the butter melt off the hot chicken. You got to actually get a sauce. You got to have a sauce to accompany that. So everything don't have to be a flour dish, okay? Don't have to be a flour dish. There are many healthy products that you can actually use that can accompany any dish that you want, right? You know, cooking actually started by experimenting, right? By experimenting, right? All the dishes you see up here, it was a trial and error, right? So basically, you experiment by taking any one of these and you add something else to it, and then you can customize it and make it your own, all right? So there's no shortage in what you actually can do when you're in this field, okay? You know, just explore. And most of the things that you have here, you actually want to make sure you use them to make it your own, you know? So let's see that. I think I've covered everything. Yes. I think I've covered everything so far. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, so there's endless to what you can do, right, with the things that you have. There's endless possibility. Now, let me just tell you about some of the sauce family they have, okay? There are sauces that they call mother sauces. A mother sauce is a sauce that you can actually make other sauces from, right? For example, you have a sauce bechamel, you have a sauce velouté, you have a sauce espanol, then you have a sauce tomato sauce, you have mayonnaise, and plus you have the hollandaise sauce. From all of these sauces, you can actually make derivatives of other sauces, you know? So it's endless to what you can do with the things that you have. So once you're in the kitchen, you can get your hand these ingredients. Just explore, you know, and the world is endless to what you can do with these, all right? But I want to thank you.
Come on, let's give it up. Chef Charles Missick. Soup, stock, sauces, and thickening agents. Let's give him another round of applause. We're going to break for 1 minute. And if you have any other questions, you can ask those questions in that 1 minute while we're off air. We're going to set up now for our last session for the day, who is coming to give a wonderful presentation. And I know all of you will enjoy. And welcome back to our last session on today. Yes, this is the 6th annual Young Chef Culinary Conference. And here we have our final presenter for today, Chef Ellie Sanders. Tell us all about yourself, Chef Sanders.
Well, just because I know we're getting, the university is getting ready to close, so I will be brief because, I could be really winded. But to give you a brief synopsis, I came here also, not here, but the school was in a different place, as a student, just like you, wondering what I wanted to do, decided to become a chef because I could do a little baking and stuff like that. So I said, well, let me just see if I can make some extra monies. My neighbors taught me how to make like Benny cake, coconut cream. The older people back then were making those things in their home. I never went out to play too much. I like eating, so I went and I sat at each of their feet and learned some of the crafts. And this is now what I'm showing you today. But I came here, as I said, as a student. After graduating from the Bahamas Hotel Training College, I went back to work as the assistant pastry chef at the Nassau Beach Hotel. Somebody was looking for a part-time lecturer, so I came here to help out with teaching. And eventually, I was hired to cut a long story short, I was hired as a chef lecturer in the arts of pastry and cooking, because I like pastry, but I can still cook. I like food. I like eating good things. After completing 2 years, my boss came and said, we're going to, you have to get a bachelor's degree because we're teaching at an associate level. At that time, I just had an associate degree. So I went off to Johnson & Wales, obtained a bachelor's in culinary arts, came back, joined in 2000 with the College of the Bahamas then, which now is becoming a university. Then they got another letter. In order for you to remain here, you have to obtain a master's degree. And so I went on back again to study here at the time. And I did a master's in business administration with emphasis in entrepreneurial and in innovation. And I say that because as chefs or anywhere in this field, you will always find people coming to ask you to do things. And so you have to have the business aspect of it as well. We like cooking, and then you say, okay, just give me $10. Are you really making money back, or are you giving it away? You have to understand, what it's going to cost, and be able to price it without really charging people. And so that was really good because, I'm now thinking on after retirement to go into business, and with the master's degree in business administration, it's helped me well. I'm now presently the head of food and beverage, which I promised to take on for 1 year, before looking forward to exiting the university. Before I go, I'd like to leave a little legacy, and so now I'm actually working on a cookbook. And the book will be based around Bahamian stuff, because we find that a lot of with all the different things that are happening in the internet and people are able to get information, they're forgetting what is really ours. And so, anybody in here could tell me what is coconut Jimmy, or some people call it coconut doobie, coconut cream, Benny cake. These are all ours. And so, I want to put it in the book so that you'll be able to use it and, begin to push through all of the things that is really Bahamian. And so that is basically me in a nutshell. Today, what I'm going to do, dessert is always the last thing on the menu. You could mess up any other part of the menu. Oh, the soup was salty. Oh, the food wasn't good. But do not mess up the dessert, because that's the last thing they will remember as they leave your place. Everything was good, but dessert was excellent. And that will probably bring them back to you if it's just one thing. And so what I want to do today is to show you the various components when you're sitting down to think of putting a plated dessert together, because, it's the artwork. Remember now, you may not think about it, because my teacher in high school ran me out of the art class. I went in that to take it as want to get away, you don't want to have to do too much work. You just go do some drawing, and then at the end of the day, you get a grade, and you leave. But she told me, Ellie, get out of my class. You cannot draw. And so I left and went and I took up history. That was another easy one. You don't have to remember dates and stuff like that. But art is a main part of pastry, cooking. And so you must always keep in mind, how are you going to present this to your guests? What is going to make your guests want to say, wow? You know, you have Picasso and all these other, Michelangelo and all of them who've done drawing, and it's been on the wall for centuries. The sad thing about us, now we have the cameras now, we can take pictures of what we do, but our artwork is devoured within, 2 to 3 minutes? And it's gone. But you could consider yourself, once you start to do things, as an artist. And so there are things that you have to put in place and understand, so at the end of the day, you're able to present a fairly nice plate. And I know a lot of you are in the competition, all of you. And so, these are some tips that you can take. Teachers can probably use it for the future. If there's anything, I will, because of we were getting everything in paper for you, but because the school is shutting down, the internet was closed. And so what we would do is have it sent to you so that you can use it for the future when you sit down to decide what you want to do. And so without delaying that, is there any questions so far? Okay, so let's look at, any questions? Okay, so you all understand me? Excellent. I'm not bad. Okay, what we're looking at now is components of a plated dessert. Components of a plated dessert. Now, when you sitting to put a plate together, there are components. You have to, first of all, decide what you want to do, and then begin to look at how you're going to put that plate together in order for it to pop at the end of the day. Because, it is, he brought it too early. It is, important that you design or come up with a theme or some sort of a indication on how you want to present your pastry at the end of the day. And so there are basically, like I say, components, and there are actually 4 components in that, major components that is you have to take into consideration when you are putting a plated dessert together. And the 4 components are, 1, you have the main component, and that main component, I think it'll be coming up on the screen shortly, okay. The main component or the main dish. This actually gives as you can see, this gives us this gives you the main profound flavor. So your main dish should be the dish that has the major flavor. That's what people look for when they buy. Sorry about that. It provides focal points. So your main product should be when people sit to look at your plate, that should be the first thing their eyes zoom in on, and that's what they mean by the focal point, where you want them to look first. The next one is, this is really the reason why they're ordering the dessert, because a mango mousse. Okay, I like the word mango mousse. That's what I want. But there are other components that go with that mango mousse. But that is the reason why they're ordering the dessert, because it's that main component that's attracting them or, giving them the appeal. And then it should be the component that is mostly pronounced or the major flavor on the plate. You with me? Then we have the sauce. That's the second component, the sauce. It gives you flavor contrast and mouth appeal. You know what I mean by mouth appeal? Anybody can tell me what mouth appeal means? Pardon? How? Texture. What do they really mean by mouth appeal? Remember now you have, right, you have different taste buds on your tongue. You have what? sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. Four taste buds on your, and actually they have now a fifth one they call umami. And umami is the one that you really can't explain to somebody else. It is just so good that it's you and it's between you and the Almighty that this taste. It makes your whole body feels good, and that's what they mean by umami. So mouth appeal is that when they eat your product, it should balance and say, wow, this tastes good together. You don't want no major contrast. Ooh, this is throwing it off. So you have to always be aware that, the mouth appeal is important. It can complete the main dish. It should complement the main dish. It means that, it should go along with it and not something that is too far out. So you want to make sure it's complementing the main dish. It also gives visual movement and interest. And what do they mean by that is that if you're doing any design or artwork that I would show you, your eyes should follow, like, I don't know if you've ever seen a plate of dessert, they would probably have sometime a little chocolate piping on it, and so you follow that piping because the piping is what helps to bring the entire dish together. You see, so you want to tie it in, so not, you have the option, because today people come up with their own ideas, but these are usually the guidelines or the rules that are followed. And so you have to ensure that this piping brings your entire plate together, whether it's far or close. And it also helps to hold your sauces in place, which you will find out soon. You have sauce. It adds additional flavor and texture. The sauces, everybody can see. It also provides the basis for a design on your plate and gives more contrast and visual appeal. Actually, it gives that color. You want to have color. You want your plate to be as colorful and to have that nice blend of flavors and color. You can take it out. Then you have crunch. The crunch is the next one. It gives textual contrast. It holds frozen components in place. A crunch is also an item that provides textual contrast to the main dish as well. So, it's like you would put chocolate chip to vanilla. Or if you have something that is strawberry, what goes well with strawberry? What's a good flavor? Strawberry and what? What do you buy? Pardon? Banana? Strawberry and bananas, yes. Vanilla. So it's basically up to you. You just, when you sit down to make the decision, taste it, and sometimes I give it to other people, try it. And if they like it, then you'll begin to know that you're on something. Because remember, this is culinary art. And the art part of it comes from you. So you have to develop, come up with your own way in which you could design and make something that is good and tasty. You with me? Follow the rules, but it's up to you to make those contrasts. Because I remember once the professor said nobody could make an ice cream out of cumin. Cumin has a very strong flavor. But, the lady that did it, she combined that with a little bit of ginger, and it was remarkable. It took the entire conference over because people didn't realize that, hey, you can take some things that are far apart and just bring them together by just adding something else that binds. You understand what I'm saying to you? So be as creative as you can. Make it as good as you can. And ensure that at the end of the day, you're putting forth something that people will enjoy. And so what I've decided to do today is to do something simple, because I know in the essence of time, the school is closing at a certain time, the university. And so because of the storm. And so what I've decided to do is something simple, but something that you will probably enjoy and see what I'm talking about with all these various components. One other thing I wanted you all to do is to this is something that is good to have in your kitchen. It's good to know how to make, because not all the time you can have a piping bag. And you want to do some sort of design or drawing. And so what I'm going to do now is have you all make a cornet under my instructions. I'm not going to leave you out there. And along with some of the other students, now teachers, who've probably went through either myself or Chef Van Rotz, would be able to show and help you. So let's give out one to each student. In fact, I'll use that too. Can I rest this now? I want to rest this now. Or you can hold it for me. Just hold that.
You could go close to him to hold it. So when he
You can
speaks,
just
yeah.
come close so you can hold it for me. Yeah, okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make a cornet. A cornet is used to do piping. You could pipe happy birthday. You can do whatever you want to do with it. In this essence, I'm just using it to draw some chocolate work. And so here we have wait, I'm going to show you how you can make it from the beginning. So you have a square piece of paper. If you have it, this is called pine liners or sheep pine liners, or you buy this, pardon? Wax paper. You can use wax paper as well, yes, if you don't have this. You now fold, what you would do is fold this in half. So what I'm doing, is folding this in half. You see? So if you get your wax paper, it's the same thing. Just fold it in half. Then, actually, if you want to make a bigger one, you just, the more folds you make, the smaller the product will come out. And so here it is. What I'm doing is I'm cutting it. Oh, we got some extras. I'll use this one first. Let me show you. I'm going to fold this down a little more. And if I wanted to make it even a smaller one, I'll fold it again. So the smaller you want it, the more you fold. Okay, the one that you have is a quarter. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take this paper and fold it like a twin peak. Not you, not yet. I'm showing you how this is made in your hands. So you fold it like a twin peak. And you go ahead and you cut it. So you'll end up with just like yours. If you want it a little smaller, I've cut this one down in half. That's half of this. And so what you would do is, so it's a smaller one. Becomes a smaller one. You see, the smaller, it's according to what you're making. So you don't waste papers. Now what you're going to do, you're going to take your paper, right, left, right hand. Yeah, you're on the opposite of me. Good. I'm going to take that. Going to take that, and then I'm going to fold it. Take it, fold. Fold. No, actually, what you want to do is you want to bring, when you fold, you want to bring this peak. So fold it and bring that peak up to this peak. What you want to do is you want to take that end, and you want to fold it over and bring it up to this end. Bring it up and hold it there. You just hold that there. You take that, and you pull it up there. Hold it there.
Like that? Like that?
Yes, yes, you're fine. Turn the phone off. Carry the phone out of here. Come on. So you're taking this end, take that, this end, and you're turning it over and pulling it up to here. So you end up something like that. You end up something like this. Yeah, it's a cone. You're making a cone. That's what you think of. You're making a cone. Okay, you're gonna take, like I said, you're going to pull that up there. So next, we're going to take this end. We're going to take this end and fold it around, keeping your hands on this side. Fold it around and then pull up, pull it up. As you fold around, pull it up. The good thing is that we have quite a few more here, so you're going to be able to take it home and practice. Practice. I know some of you will get it right away, others may take a little longer, but once you get the gist and the hang of it, it should go quite well. And actually, how you know you have a proper cornet is that once you add water to it, water should not be coming out of the bottom. You understand? You should not have any water coming from the bottom of your cornet. As you open, you see, then you can let water out. But you can close it just like a pipe. It should not have any water. That's when you know you've made it correctly. Okay. Oh, okay, so moving right along. So I'm going to make, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a fold it in, and then the top end. Just fold it in. Once you reach up to the end and you have your cone, you take the extra piece of paper that is at the top. You see, so this comes around, and then this end outer piece, you will pull it and then fold it in so that it does not come apart. Fold the whole thing in. Now, what we used to do, we'll take this and we'll just hang these up in the pastry shop. So anytime you're ready to do any piping, just pull one rather than having to make them all the time. So we'll just make up a batch. We had a makeshift hanger, you know what you get when you take your clothes out of the laundry. And we just use it to hang these on. And it's easier for you just to have. And the practice is also good for you to use. This is cheaper for you to practice your piping skills. And so you could go and learn how to write happy birthday, how to make different designs, and just become as creative as possible. And so this is really something important that you should learn. Don't take this lightly. Learn how to make this. I will afterwards, I would show you, if those of you may not have gotten it, but with the essence of time, I would begin to show any of those who may want to get a little more tutoring. Okay. So we're with it yet now? You're getting it? Excellent. I'm happy to see. That means I'm teaching well. Hands on. I guess with the essence of time as well, I would have had you all up here making your own dessert. But you don't have the time. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to make you all should know how to make a fruit tart, eh? A fruit tart. It's a little small. These gloves. fruit tart is simple. It's just making a pie crust. This is actually a sweet pie dough that I made out of butter, sugar, flour. As you know, pastry is really the scientific part of cooking. That is cooking. You can put things together, but in the pastry shop, these things. In the pastry shop is where the scientific part of cooking comes to play, and it's very evident in that by creating and putting certain things together, you will end up with a final product. And so understanding this is very important. When I set out to do something, I already have in the back of my mind what I need to put together in order for these products to come out the best that they can. When you make a product and you made a mistake, let's say by putting too much baking powder in it, when would you know that? When would you know it? And that is then too, you got it. It's time and money. I always tell students that you have flour, salt, yeast, and water. Flour, salt, yeast, and water. The 4 things to make French bread. Now, what makes things brown? Sugar. Correct. Sugar makes things brown. Did you hear anything with sugar in it? No. Flour, salt, water, and yeast. What do you have to know as the chef? Pardon? The amount of yeast in it? You have to feed the yeast. Yes, all these things are relevant. But what is going to make that bread brown? Because French bread is brown when you eat it, right? The outside is brown. What is making it brown? There's no sugar. Pardon? I didn't hear somebody? Time and texture. The gluten. Oh, we're getting there. Some people being studying. What about the gluten? You have to develop a gluten. Gluten is what? The protein in flour, correct? And what is protein when broken down in the simple form? Glucose. What is glucose? Simple sugars. Now, how do you get that out of the bread? Ask the baker. Not the kneading process. It's the what process? Not the rising. It's the baking. It's the baking. And so you have to bake that at what? At a high temperature. And it's the heat that pulls the sugar to the top. You know when you fry egg, you burn it quickly? It's because that white part is protein. And that's why it will burn very quickly. You understand? And so understanding these things and like I said, the science behind everything that you're doing makes it good for you in the end. And so what I'm going to show you now is how to make breaking it down, a fruit tart. But just before I move on to the fruit tart, which is simple and quick, I'm going to show you how to prepare they didn't bring it. Oh, yeah, they did. That's this, your crunch component on this plate too. Actually, this is a tule. What's a tule? A tule is like a wafer cookie that is made with, where did I put it? No. It's probably still in the kitchen. I thought I gave it to somebody to bring. It's in a cup like this. I thought I did. Somebody. Okay, we're moving right along. I'll show you that a little later so we can move quickly. So here we have our cookie crust. It's basically just a cookie dough. By adding more sugar, less sugar, more water, less water, you get different textures. So you have to understand that, something that has more sugar and less water becomes crunchy. You want it to be chewy. There's another method. And so understanding these methods and using the same ingredients, really, but putting more or less in it will give you a different end result. And so this is a cookie dough just made of simple butter, sugar, and flour. A very little bit of water. And then it's molded into a shell, and it's baked off. Now for this, you have to prepare like I said, a sugar crust. This sugar crust has in it sugar. And so when moisture hit this, what's going to happen? It's going to begin to get soft, soggy. And so before we do that, we can take a little bit of chocolate, and you can brush it inside. What does the chocolate do? It acts as a barrier. The chocolate acts as a barrier and stops the moisture from the other things going into the crust. Me, I like it without it because I like the little softness. So it's there again. It's up to you and what you're doing. So what I'm going to do now is some fruit tarts, people use pastry cream. And so you take pastry cream, which is another method, and you can add that as the base filling inside the shell itself. But like I said, there's so many ways in which you can do it. And so what I did, I took a piece of pound cake that was left over. I keep it in the freezer, and you just pull it out whenever you want to. And I take that pound cake, and I will cut it into pieces. Yeah. Yes. We'll show them at the end. No. We could rest that to the side for now. So I've now added that in here. Well, this has a little bit of moisture in it because it's a pound cake, because it's not dry. You can use sponge or whatever else, but with sponge, you'll have to use a little extra liquid. And so you can take the same liquid that you use, or you can make a sauce, a liquid out of, a syrup, out of sugar and water, reduce. But with this, we're just gonna, this is already moist, so I would not put it in it. Next, we're gonna take a buttercream. And the reason why I use buttercream is because this can then last a little longer than pastry cream. You with me? And so I make a little buttercream, and I've added a little bit of banana rum. It don't have to have anything in it, but the rum help. If it's a sponge cake, what you would do, you would go ahead and moisten the cake on the inside. So you'll put a little bit of syrup or liqueur we used to use in the industry, Grand Marnier, which is an orange flavor liqueur. It tastes very good. So what I'm doing here now is putting that on. That.
Is chocolate the only barrier you can use in that?
No. Like I said, this here, I was about to show you that you can also use the buttercream as a barrier. You with me? Because what happens to butter when it's placed in a cool area? It hardens. Actually, we never used, in the Nassau Beach, we only used the pastry cream on special occasions, but we always made it with the buttercream because, pastry, good thing about pastry, you can make it in advance. And so we made it up in advance, kept it in the fridge, and the only thing we had to do was put the fruits on at the last. We didn't have to go through the whole process. So we made up everything, had it with just like this, with the covered, wrapped, and then when it was time to make the fruit tart, we just added the fruits on it. But you can use butter, like I'm showing you here now. Just fill the cavity. With, again, and like I said, you can use actually a liqueur, or it can be just a syrup if you don't want to use any rum. But the rum gives it a nice flavor as well. So we have here our two shell filled. And so now what I'm going to do is show you how to put the Now, basically, you can use any fruit you want, but it's best always, if you're going to use, for fruit tart, a fruit that it's too hard, like apple or orange, it's going to break up before you, unless you cut them very thin. But you rarely see apples unless, there's something that's requested. And there again, you will have to probably put it in some lemon juice and stuff to stop it from oxidizing or turning brown, as we will see. But usually the best way to go about it is to use some poached fruits or fruits that are soft, like berries and stuff that can easily be consumed. So like a peach, you can either poach it yourself or you can buy it already poached in the tin. You want to create height. Height is very important here. And so we're adding that on. And then from there, I'm going to put some pear. You can ask any questions as we go along. I take the pear, poached pear, and I add that on. And by the way, this is about $6. $6. Peach pear. And you can put strawberries or any sort of raspberry. You wouldn't want to use the strawberries with the green leaf. You want to take that off. What I would do is just slice it a bit so it'll make it easier for they can slice it, and then just take your hands and press it in a little. So you'll end up with like that versus that. It's easier to place on your fruit. Okay, and then I'm going to put some kiwi. Like kiwi, it adds another color, makes it very attractive because, like and so here it is, we have the basis. You wanted to, you could throw a blueberry there for a little contrast, but no, not for me. Okay, here we have, could you wash that off quickly? This is apricot pudding. Actually, you can purchase it it's not really found in the food store. This is more industrial use. But you can make your own out of apricot jam. Add some water, strain it through a sieve, and you'll get basically the same thing. I can do it. So what you'll do is, usually what we would do is just take this and get the mic. Calm down. The mic. You need to get the mic. You need to speak into the mic. Oh, sorry about that. Speak into the mic. So here it is. We have our color. You see the color contrast. And now what I'm going to do is put a little over it. And it adds color, a little bit more shine to your product. And what else? Flavor, and what else? Holds it together. That's the main thing. You want it to be held together by this, because the apricot, like you see, this is already beginning to solidify. So, because we're sitting a bit too long. You can easily just throw it in the microwave. And okay, Usually, sometimes we would do this twice, put in the fridge, let the first set cover, and then you come back again. And then here we have toasted almonds. You could use toasted almonds, you could use coconut, you could use any sort of crunch. What I usually would do is break it up a little. So everything costs money. You always have to think by breaking it up a bit gives a better look, and then it also saves you money, because that's the bottom line, money. And so what I'm going to do now is show you how you go about so the almond are on the base. I'm going to take this, you take it, you crunch it in your hands a bit, and then you put it around. Now, what I'm doing this for is to actually seal in the barriers and also to give it a complete look, because you don't want them to see any of the buttercream or anything like that. So this will close it up and give it a better, see? You could do it, you can make a cheesecake, any sort of stuff, and do the same thing. Put fruits on top of it, same way. Now you say I put it on a piece of paper because at the end of the day, the rest of it goes back into the buggy. Back in. That's for the next 10. This makes it 20, 25 of these you can make. Okay, now the next thing is how are we going to plate this? Now remember we discussed plating actually is more so important. Let's wipe this down first. Put that there. Put that there. Just clear down the area. Everybody's on point so far? Okay. Now, just to get back to the original thing I was showing you, the hip and paste, or tule. Tule is something that you can keep in the fridge. You can make this up and keep this for months. Frozen, just take it out as you need it, because it can last, and you can always use it as basically a crunch element to your you have this tie too tight. And I always tell people you can buy these different shapes, different molds and stuff that you can use to make your various products, the various shapes that you want. But I always go the cheap way. I just get a piece of cake board and cut out whatever shape you want and use it for it. Or you can use the shortening top, the top from the shortening Crisco. You can do the same thing, and that can last for months. Just keep it, you don't have to throw it away. But here you would take this, place it on. You notice I'm using the pan upside down and not the other way around, because it'll be hard to come up. And so what you would do then is take this paste. It's made from, they're going to have the recipe. We're going to send it to you. It's made from egg whites, powdered sugar, flour, and a little bit of vanilla. That's all. Very easy to make with the powdered sugar. Some people use also almond flour. You can use almond flour as well. You can throw pieces of almond when you finish, so you can give it an additional crunch. So when you finish with this, you take that and you spread it across. Very thin. Very thin. And there you have that. See how thin it is? Actually, now what you're going to do is put this in the oven for 2-3 minutes, and it's going to turn like this. Now, the thing it is with this is that you have to have your I use sometimes the wooden stick, wooden spoon. You could use the back of that, or you can have anything that you want to. And once that is finished out of the oven, you have to right away take it off of the sheet pan and then roll it around this. Within 5 seconds, it hardens. So if you don't move fast enough, it's going to harden on you before you finish. It's going to be a little warm, so your hands get used to it after a while, but you just have to learn how to wrap it quickly so it can keep its shape, whatever shape you want to do. Here, what I did was use this, and I placed this around the ice cream scoop. And this is the shape I got to put my ice cream in this. Like I said earlier, with this you can put a little chocolate if you want to, but if you want to put this on the plate without using ice cream, the ice cream would melt more so into this rather on your plate, messing it up. You understand? So you will make some sort of a cup out of something edible for you to use as, or some people just crush up some cookies, and they will mold it on the plate and put the ice cream on top of that. It's the same thing because you still will get some form of crunch in it. Okay? So this is how it looks when it comes out. You just take your thing to do, but see, this is already turned hard. So this can't bend. So you have to do it whilst it's hot. Bend it around whatever shape you want to get. So this is the same as that. Okay, so sorry about that. So now we have our plate. Everybody's fine so far? Okay. I don't want you going back and say, well, I didn't see nothing or hear nothing. Because you know how we go. Yeah, in a minute. In the freezer? Okay. Not yet. Okay. Okay. Where it is to plate it. So let's make some space so you can see. So here it is. We have our plate. You could use different sizes. It's according to what you're making and how elaborate you want to be. Sorry, it's a little warm. So what I'm going to do now is make another cornet. Close in. Sometimes you have to take your time and pull it out because the paper wrinkles. As you move, take this. Move this around, pull it up. Sorry, it is. I'm having a little difficulty here because of the gloves on my hands. Not the right size. Okay. So what I've done here is I've tempered some chocolate. Do you know what tempered chocolate is? What is tempered chocolate? Pardon? It snaps. Melts right. Yeah. So how do you temper chocolate? So you melt it to what degrees? You have to put the chocolate into a double boiler. Don't allow any moisture to get to it because the chocolate will seize up. So what I would usually do is wrap it with some clear wrap and put it over a double boiler. Now what is going to happen is that you're going to heat the molecules to 120 degrees. You make sure you have as a part of your kit a thermometer. And then what you're going to do after that, once it reaches 120 degrees, you're now going to take another lump of chocolate, from the same batch, and you're going to throw it in there, move it off the stove, and you're going to move that around until it comes. I wanted to show you that, but because of the time and everything, with the university closing, I eliminated it and made it myself. But what you would do, you will put a piece of chocolate and you will allow it to reduce to 80 degrees. Up to 120, and then you bring it down to the 80 degrees. And then the chocolate will be tempered. Now, another thing we do is I add a little bit of clarified butter to it to help, give some additional sheen and for it too long. What is clarified butter? What is clarified butter?
That's when you put the butter in a pot and you let it melt down, and as it melts, you skim the stuff off the top.
You skim the top stuff off the top. You are right. But let me tell you what happens. Okay, what comes to the top? Nope. Nope. What comes to the top? What are you skimming off the top? Huh? Pardon? Impurities. You get an A. Yes, you are skimming off the impurities. The impurities, the bad stuff always come to the top. When you're boiling, sauce or whatever it is that you're doing, you get all that scum. That is the impurities. The same thing with butter. The milk solid in butter, because remember that butter is churned milk. The milk's product in butter will sink to the bottom. Don't throw it away. You use that in your mashed potatoes and whatever else. Don't throw it away. But then you will, in the middle of it will be the pure butter. Now that's the butter you can use to fry. Because when you put butter in the frying pan, the fry something, it burns very quickly. That's not the actual butter, it's the milk products that are burning, the protein. So you want to clarify it in order to separate the protein and all of the impurities that will help with the burning process or browning, and you will now have that pure butter sitting in the middle, and that is what you use to saute beef, or like I said, use it in this for piping in this instance. You got that? So even in the cooking, if you want to cook with butter, a little butter for more flavor, make sure the butter is clarified, because it will burn your product and give another flavor. And oh boy, cooking is an art, because actually that next flavor, as you brown that butter and the milk products are browning, you're getting different end results, because we call that, when you allow it to brown, beurre noisette. So that gives a nut, it's called nut brown butter, and that butter actually gives another flavor to your fish. If you want to make a lemon, you add some lemon in that. It's really, really tasty. And so it's according to what level you allow it to brown afterwards. But basically, for purifying or clarifying the butter, you must skim the impurities off the top. The milk products will drop to the bottom. The pure butter is in the middle. And that is what you use for your piping and all of the other stuff. And so what I'm going to do here now is, I've done that already. So I'm going to take this now. Like I said, it's not coming out, so it's basically tight. Cut off a piece. Yeah, the butter is. Could we hold for a second? This is beginning to harden. I need to soften it in the microwave. Could you give me 1 second to bring this down a little bit more in the microwave? It's beginning to get too hard. So give me a second, I'll be right back.
And so while Chef Sanders is warming up the tempered chocolate, remember the same theme is coming out again in all of the presentation. Reduce, reuse, recycle. As he did with the almonds, notice how he underlined his table with the parchment paper. Used the almonds that he needed to garnish his tartlets. Then he saved the rest for another production. Do not throw things away. Same thing with your toasted coconuts. I see a lot of you just have it on the table and then you wipe it down with the cloth and it goes into the garbage. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Those coconut that you would have done could be used again on future dishes. All right, do not throw things away. All of these ingredients are expensive. You get points off for wasting, you get points off for use of money. All of these we got to think about, not just in the competition, but also in our BGCSE practical examinations as well. All right? A lot of times when the examiners go into the kitchen and they look in the garbage, all of the ingredients just about are in the garbage. Where do you think you're losing the points from? That same garbage bin. All right? Because there are points in there in the BGCSE that speaks to money management, wastage. All right? So be careful how you throw these things away because you can use them again. Like I said, even with your trimmings, don't throw them in the garbage. Get a Ziploc bag. Put them in a Ziploc bag. And let the examiner know, hey, I'm taking these home for compost. You're not throwing away anything. You're utilizing everything. Remember, our theme for this year is sustainability. Sustainability. We must ensure that there is food security for future generations. As your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren yet unborn. Okay? And so, with this last session going on, please, I don't see much asking of questions. Please ask questions. These are the people you need to get the information from. Flour is 50% of your competition. 50%. Half is rice, half is flour. Get as much information as you can. I heard nobody ask, what did you make the tartlets out of? What ingredients did you use? These are the times to get as much information as possible. How is your tart standing up without any filling in it? What did you do? Ask about blind baking. Ask about the techniques used. Get as much information as possible. Do not sit and worry about the food or no food later. Just worry now. All these things. The Bible says, give no care or thought about things you have no control over. Utilize this opportunity. We are here for a reason. God placed us here today for a reason. We may not all be together again, every one of us in this room, at the same time. But while we are here, please, let's exercise and maximize our time. All right, any questions at this time that you would like to ask? No one? Okay.
Can you use a caramel as a binder, or that caramel would be too crunchy?
That would depend on how the caramel was set, because you have some soft set caramel that can be used as a glaze, and then you have some that hardens as candy. So that would depend on what type of caramel and the degree in which you boil it to, because the longer you boil it, the harder it's going to get. And so if you're looking at a soft caramel, you can use that as a glaze. A hard caramel, it will crack.
I'm talking with like how you coat it with chocolate.
Wow. I wouldn't recommend it, because now you're going to set the wet ingredients on top of that. All right? And then you're looking at balancing the sweetness of the tart. You don't want it to be overbearing with sugar. A lot of persons like myself who are diabetic would like to enjoy that tartlet without having the extra added sugar to it. All right, Chef Sanders is back, and he has just 2 minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. So I have 2 minutes. Now, okay, good. I could be in tell about what time it is, 1 o'clock? This fan, these gloves on me. Okay, so what I've done, I've just brought it down a little in the microwave, 10 seconds. Okay. Now, one of the main things is that, the good thing about this is that once you temper the chocolate, you can then move it, cut off a tip. See, now it's flowing. So what I would do is now I'm going to decide where I'm going to put my, you see? You see how high I'm holding this? You see how high? The thing it is that once you temper, it can just one string, you see? If you didn't temper it, it'll be breaking up. Temper will help it flow. You could hold it up from the plate and actually see what you're doing. If you don't temper it, it turns hard, and then when people are ready to eat the chocolate, like stick onto the plate. You don't want that to happen. You want them to be able to use the chocolate also, and not just have it there as a hardened product. Okay? Okay. Okay, so last but not least, we're being told to get out of here. I was going to make, did they bring the little bullet? Oh. Quickly, I want to just show you how to do a quick sauce. It's not going to take long. 2 minutes before they throw me out.
Hello, Chef.
Hi. Only 2 seconds. Okay, they're going to, as I finish up, you're going to do a 2-minute wrap-up as I move through this. 2 minutes, you can continue. I'll just... Okay. 1 minute. No. Okay, you can take, yes. So you can go ahead and see. What it is I'm just going to put some berries and make a coulis. Coulis is just crushed berries, fresh berries.
Get a mic. Mike, get a mic. Yes, we get to the mic.
No problem. I'll hold it.
Yeah, this is a coulis. A coulis actually is just fresh berries that you crush up to make a sauce. People like that, so I'm going to just use a little strawberry and raspberry. Put a little water.
Mm-hmm.
You could not get it much more nutritious than this. done quickly. Now, another thing you can do, you can actually take this and cook it down a little with some sugar, and then you can add some whatever else you want to add to it. But people like to see the freshness in. Wait 1 second, let me wash that. This is some mango. The mango will add another flavor to this because it's not on the. A little bit, I can use some of that. And then we will add a little bit of ice cream right in the middle there. And there you have it.
Thank you ever so much, Chef Ellie, and to all of our chefs and industry partners for assisting us with educating and training the next generation of culinarians in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas during our 6th annual culinary conference. Thank you all, and we'll see you next year.